Welcome to another episode on the Fearless Femme podcast. And if you are new to this, then welcome to the pod. And hello to my fabulous friends, queens, and rebels in waiting. So today we're talking about the art of getting shit done without losing your mind or yourself. And this season we're really diving into the good girl syndrome and how to start breaking out of that, and I cannot wait to dig into this one. So today we're actually tackling something that hits us all square in the face, including me. Like, nobody is safe from this, and it's that feeling like we're stuck on a hamster wheel, running flat out but getting absolutely nowhere. Sound familiar? Yeah, it does for me sometimes too. So why this episode is going to be really important for you. So I kind of want to ask how many of you that are listening right now have a to-do list longer than your Tesco receipt after you just popped in for some bread. Yeah, shopping when you're hungry is a dangerous thing, I might add. But somehow, after ticking off like 5 things, 10 things, it can still feel like nothing is getting done. Like, where's the parade? Where's the confetti? Where's the sense of accomplishment of a job well done? Exactly, there isn't. So this episode is for those of you who are absolutely crushing it. Well, sort of. You're doing all the things, but you're also doing the most, and it feels like that needle isn't moving one bloody inch. So we're going to be diving into why some tasks, especially the ones that don't have a tangible result, feel like they are just sucking the life out of you, and how you can make them work for you. And we're still continuing to absolutely smash through that good girl story into tiny, unrecognizable pieces. So this episode was actually inspired by one of my beautiful friends and clients about doing tasks and doing things that don't have a perceived reward at the end of it. So I'm talking about some of the more mundane things that we do in our day-to-day life. And if you're a business owner, that might be admin work, or going through your spam emails and deleting them, or unsubscribing from those emails that you subscribe to that have just been festering away in your inbox. Or it might be for those of you who it's everyday things like housework, ironing, laundry, shopping, cooking, whatever it is. Like, some of these tasks that we're doing day to day don't have that tangible result that we can see, that we can feel at the end of it. So it can often feel like it's not appreciated, it's not recognized, there's like nothing to show for it. So this episode was, like I say, really inspired because it delves back into something I created, about 2 years ago, about your self-love language. And I have dropped the link in the episode description if you are interested in grabbing that and discovering what your personal self-love language is. Not your love language for others, but how you love to treat yourself and how to start implementing that in your day-to-day. So let's dig in. So when it comes to tasks and things that you need to get done, if they're kind of menial and they're boring and they've still got to be done, we need a reward system in place, because when something doesn't have an actual physical thing that you can see and feel on the other side of it, it's going to feel like you're going through the mode, like it's a chore. Like, even in business, like if you are writing content out or you're writing copy for your website, if those things don't actually excite you, then it's going to be really difficult to stay motivated. It's very easy to procrastinate. It's very easy to not enjoy them and kind of put them off. So I'm going to be going through in this episode what you can do about it, how you can start rewarding yourself, how you can start recognizing yourself, and how you can start validating yourself without needing that from other people, without needing other people to see just how much effort and hard work you're putting in. Obviously, appreciation is always a big thing, like within your relationships, your friendships, even within your business. One of the fundamental values is to feel appreciated, absolutely. But we're not digging into that on this episode. So let's talk about why we need rewarding, why we need some kind of system putting in place, and how that's really going to help you to reconnect back in with a sense of who you are, to connect in with your sense of worth, your value, even down to your confidence and identity. So let's start with this. Do you know what your self-love language is? So mine is gifts, so physical gifts. And you might be listening to that and thinking, oh my gosh, like that's really spoiled. Well, no, not really. It doesn't necessarily mean that I need the expensive bags and shoes, but I like physical tokens. I like physical rewards, things that I can see, things that I can use, things that I can touch and appreciate. So mine is rewards. And if I don't have a carrot to dangle in front of myself, then I'm out. And that's what I'm talking about. Like tasks that don't come with a little payoff, not happening. And this really isn't about being materialistic. It's actually biology. So our brains are wired for a dopamine hit, right? So a dopamine hit is when you hear a song playing and it's like one of your favorites. It makes you feel energized. You want to dance around. It makes you smile. It makes you feel lighter. Like music gives that dopamine hit. Going to the gym and finish a session, you feel great afterwards. It's a dopamine hit. So our brains are wired for that dopamine. And back in the day, it was finding berries in the wild or narrowly escaping being a lion's dinner. Now it's getting through a Monday without crying in the toilet. So when the tasks that you're doing, like admin or planning or emotional stuff when you are there for your kids or your friends, or you have housework that just don't have an obvious, tangible result, your brain doesn't know that it's winning. Your brain doesn't know that you're accomplishing something because there's no dopamine hit at the end. So sometimes for some people it's ticking off something on a to-do list, and that gives enough of a reward or enough of a dopamine hit. But if that doesn't, and your brain doesn't know that you're winning the day, we kind of have to put something in place to trick it. We have to put something in place that gives us that dopamine hit, so that the more that we do it, the more that we get that dopamine hit, the more encouraged and motivated we are to do it next time. So here's the hack. Create a reward system that works really well for you. So maybe you finished a tax return. Treat yourself to that really fancy, overpriced coffee at Cost a Lot and have the extra cream. If you had a hard conversation with somebody or put some really hard boundaries in place, light that fancy candle that you've been storing in the cupboard. Like, show yourself that you're winning, because trust me, nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody else is going to clap. Nobody else is going to pat you on the back. Nobody else is going to say, awesome, you've done amazing today, babe. You're absolutely smashing it. Nobody's going to come along and do that. So you have to do it for you. And that's one of the ways to really validate yourself, to really feel good about those menial and mundane tasks that sometimes we just don't have an option to take off our plate. And let's face it, the world's expectations is that somehow we're these freaks of nature that can spin 27 plates all at once with a brush up our backside, a cloth in our hand, a child on our hip, and manage the emotional roller coaster of a small country. Like, it's a lot. Many women we do a lot, we carry a lot, we have a heavy mental load. But if you're not congratulating yourself, if you're not rewarding yourself for these everyday things, then you're just going to continue feeling unappreciated, procrastinating, and just simply surviving one day to the next. We need to be making sure that we are doing things for ourselves. Maybe you went to a meeting, really difficult meeting or really boring or whatever. Book yourself in for that trim at the hairdressers and a blowout. Book yourself in for your nails doing. What I'm saying is, identify what your love language is. Like I said, I've linked my Love Out Loud self-love language PDF in the description to this episode. It's literally £5 and it will take you through all of the different types of love languages and some examples that you can start implementing. So if your love language is words of affirmation, then making sure that you're speaking to yourself in a way that hypes you up. If your love language is time, is spending time taking an extra long bubble bath, lighting the candles, having the snacks in the bath, because I can't be the only one that does that. But you get the gist. So there is an elephant in the room, and it's overwhelm. And this is particularly for my ladies in business. So there is a lot of overwhelm in this space at the minute, especially within business owners who use social media as their main platform. And if I hear one more person advise another one or read it, just journal about it, I swear I'm going to start stepping in. Because at the moment, while there is a collective shift that's happening and I'm seeing many women step more into their power, there is also this undertone of this overwhelm. And there are many women that are almost drowning in busyness. Kids, jobs, business, mental load, Susan in HR, all of it. All of it. And here's the thing. Some of the people that we're turning to for help, some of the people that we're investing in to help us, coaches, mentors, experts, some of them are really doing us dirty, and some women are being sold on these big dreams, but when it comes to actually building foundations, that floor that you can build upon, they're as flaky as a Greggs sausage roll. So when I say these podcast episodes are literally no fluff, I'm here to tell you, you don't need more fluff. You don't need more vague advice about just showing up or just doing more of this or just implement this. What you need are strategies that are going to work for you and be tailored for your needs in the moment when you need them. Because if you're building a castle on sand, the tide is going to come in and you will be back to square one, having to rebuild again, just with less energy and more bitterness. And this is what I've been doing the past couple of weeks with my new clients, is helping them to build those solid foundations, zooming back out and undoing some of the really unhealthy things that they've been advised to do. Now, I'm not saying all coaches and mentors and experts do this. There are some absolutely cracking service providers out there, and I work with a handful of them, which I will always recommend. But there are those who sing a pretty song, but on the inside it's an AI voice. It's not as good on the inside as what the packaging said. So I'm coming across this more and more, and because there's so much overwhelm going on, it's really difficult for the women that I'm working with. It's been really difficult for them to do some of these tasks and get them out of the way and be motivated to wanting to do them, and how they all play a part in where they want to go and what they want to build, what they want to achieve. And it's not that they're not motivated, it's not that they're procrastinating, it's because there's a lot of shame going on under the surface that they're not able to do these things the same way everybody else is. So what I've been doing with many of the women that I've been working with this past month is really helping them to reward themselves, to congratulate themselves, because those rewards need to happen at every step. That acknowledgement needs to happen at every step. That validation needs to happen at every step. Not when they've got 5 figures in the bank account and they've got sold out their launch or whatever it is. So it's a big thing. So how this ties into breaking down the good girl narrative, let's talk about it, because the root of so much of our overwhelm is that society as a whole has conditioned us to believe that if we're not being helpful, if we're not being selfish and basically running ourselves ragged for everyone else, then we must be failing. It's a lie. But here is the truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation for wanting more. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to take up space. And you're absolutely allowed to put yourself at the top of the priority list. And that includes rewarding yourself, even for the small things. Even for the things that people are able to do with a flick of their finger and a few clicks of a button. Something that takes someone 5 seconds to do could take a whole afternoon for another one. So it really is about acknowledging it, seeing it, rewarding it, like every step of the way. That's what making yourself a priority is all about. It's not just about being a princess that wants everything and wants to be spoiled and wants to drop loads of money on herself. That's not being a priority. Like prioritizing your needs, listening to what it is that you need in the moment, listening to your love language, giving yourself that recognition, seeing your worth, practicing it, valuing yourself, having boundaries. There's so much that goes into making yourself a priority. But here's the thing about saying no as well. It's like a muscle. So the first few times that you do it, you're going to feel like an absolute monster. You'll feel like a villain. But then you'll realise people do adjust. People who do value you, people who do see your worth, people who do have respect for you, they will adjust. And those that don't, well, they were just probably benefiting from your lack of boundaries, right? So there's so much that ties into this whole reward thing, and even practicing your boundaries, rewarding that, recognizing it, because the more you can do that, the more it gets established as a healthier habit than just brushing it off as meh. So another section in this episode that I want to talk about is how to voice your needs without that resistance. So if you've been used to a lifetime of being a yes girl and a good girl and ever performing to other people's whims and meeting everybody else's demands except your own. So let's talk about this in this section as well, because it all ties in, which is voicing your needs. And this has also been a topic that's come up with multiple of my clients these past months, where they've craved a safe space to voice their needs without feeling ashamed, without feeling embarrassed for voicing it, without feeling judged. And I've been providing that because as women, we've been taught to hint and to imply and hope that someone gets it, hope that someone can read between the lines, that somebody can say, are you okay? Do you fancy a chat? Do you fancy a cuppa? But nobody really does. Nobody notices. And we can't very well go through life thinking that people are psychic, are going to read that we have needs. So the first thing is to start being direct. Start asking for that help. And in that can also be a reward. Just ask for help. I need help with this. Could you help me? Full stop. No, I was just wondering if you maybe cut the fluff. Just Be assertive. You can be respectfully assertive in asking for what you need instead of feeling like you have to be this shy, timid flower that's terrified of somebody saying no, F off. Another one is if you do face resistance from someone else or you face resistance within yourself, stay calm. A lot of people will push back when you set boundaries because they're not used to it. And that isn't your problem, that's theirs, not yours. So repeat after me. Their discomfort with my boundaries is not my responsibility. And if they double down, because I think when it comes to boundaries as well, it's one of those areas where we're advised about what boundaries we can have. We're told how much boundaries sets the standard for how you want to be treated and how you'll accept other people's treatment of you. We talk about boundaries when it comes to self-care. We talk about boundaries when it comes to self-respect and self-value. But what's not talked about a lot is the resistance from other people and how they behave and how to respond to that. So it's very easy to see how we can start going back on our boundaries when we face that pushback and resistance from others. So if other people do double down, you've got two options: educate or disengage. So you can either explain that this is what I need to feel supported, or decide that they're not worth the energy, because some people will never get it. Some people will never be prepared to meet your boundaries or to honour them or to respect them, and that's okay. What's not okay is that you go back on your boundaries and you break your boundaries with yourself and give in to their demands. Now, I will be releasing a podcast episode next week where we do dig into the different kinds of boundaries that you can have, how you can voice them. So I'll be giving some really clear examples that you can use, but also I'll be giving advice on how to deal with the resistance and pushback from people when you do start to implement boundaries, because I think that's a big one. And again, it ties into this whole reward system and what we need, and voicing that and recognizing it and celebrating it and giving ourselves that reward factor. So here are my takeaways for some practical steps that you can take to start feeling accomplished. So we're going to tie it up with some tangible tips, because I'm not here to waffle for 30 minutes without leaving you with something juicy that you can take away. So the first one is to celebrate small wins, even the teeny tiny wins, and make sure that the rewards for whichever task stay for that task. So if folding the clean laundry pile is one of those tasks that you just hope it would vanish and never return, like, choose a specific reward just for that task, because when you come to do it next time, when you get that treat, when you get that reward, it'll feel sweeter. If you keep that reward for everything, then it's going to lose its sparkle. It's going to lose its importance as a reward. So keep rewards specific to the different things that you're getting up to. But most importantly is celebrate those small wins. If you got through Monday without yelling at anyone, fucking iconic. Finish that boring task. You go, babe. Treat yourself. Give yourself those rewards. 2. Know what your love language is. So if rewards is your thing, make them work for you. If it's words, hype yourself up like you're your own Beyonce standing in the mirror. Like, cheer yourself on, be your own cheerleader, and use those words of affirmations. If you're still not sure about what your love language is, your self-love language, then again, just a quick reminder, I have got a PDF that's £5 in my shop. You can grab it, it goes through it all so that you can identify what your self-love language is and start implementing it in the rewards. Number 3, be specific with your needs. That's really important as well. So whether it's asking your partner to cook dinner and you just say, look, I'm really tired, I need a bit of downtime. Do you want to cook tonight? That is such a good way to voice your needs and advocate for yourself. And more often than not, instead of you grimming and bearing it and just getting it done because you're always the one that cooks, if you just ask for what you need, your partner's probably going to be more than willing to do it. Or telling a coworker to stop dumping last minute tasks on you. Like, be clear with your boundaries. Be clear with what it is that you want. Be clear with what it is that you need help with or want support with. Be clear with your boundaries. 4, call out the fluff. So whether it's a coach, a boss, or a friend, if somebody is giving you advice that you know just doesn't work for you, especially when it comes to business, if you know those specific frameworks, strategies, whatever, don't work for you, and your coach or your mentor is not being dynamic enough to shift to what you need, challenge it, because you deserve better, especially when you're investing financially with someone. 5, ditch the good girl act. Drop it completely, because you are not here to be small. You're not here to be quiet. You're not here to push the boundaries. You're not here to be invisible. You're not here to do everything with this pleasing smile while on the inside you're gritting your teeth and you want to scream at somebody to F off. Show up as the bold, brilliant you, because the world needs it. So remember that the journey isn't really about perfection. It is about progress, and sometimes that progress looks like simply getting through a hard day and rewarding yourself for it, because you are doing so much better than you think you are. I promise. And if this episode has hit home for you, share it with your bestie or your co-worker or a woman in your life that needs to hear it. And as always, you can hit me up on Facebook, send me a message. You can leave fan mail on this podcast. I would love to know what connected with you, what landed. And until next time, keep showing up as the badass queen that you are, because you really do have this. Mwah.